Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Today, let's look about putting this world back together, shall we? So many people follow so many different religions, so many different spiritual guidelines. And the one thing that people have in common is they are all denizens of this planet. Whether they came here from somewhere else or whether they're living here because they were born here, doesn't make any difference. The fact is, if you're living here, you're part of the situation. Now, people talk about, most of the religious, most of the spiritual guidelines that I talk to people about, they virtually all talk about the idea of getting along, accepting each other as you are, working together to make this a better world. Well, here's the sad reality of it. As far as I understand it, roughly 80% of wars on this planet, of arguments, of disagreements, start because of spiritual disagreements. Either they're fighting over what they call religion, as in the mainstreams, or what they call pagan religions, which, rest assured, are a lot wider and a lot older. The so-called New Age religions or New Age practices are a lot older than most of the so-called mainstream religions. But with everybody talking about getting along, talking about making this a better world, something to be considered here. Are you following the idea of accepting people as themselves? Okay, it doesn't make any difference what you call whatever you consider your higher power. Does not matter at all what you call it. It is very important to gather with like-minded people to get that sense of family, that sense of brotherhood. And Lord knows, the way the family units have gone recently, it takes a lot of work to find somebody that you can sit down with and talk about what you're feeling, how you're looking at things. The thing you have to really consider, in my opinion, is, are you treating people the way you personally desire to be treated? Okay, there are so many people that look down on people because of their station in life, or they look up at people and they put them on this bizarre pedestal, or they say they're better than I am. Understand, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. You still have the same problem. If this planet continues on the path it's on, it won't matter how old you are. It won't matter what your pocketbook looks like. Won't matter where you live. If the planet fails, okay, if mankind as a species runs into a snag, okay, it doesn't matter where you sit on the food chain. You're hooped. It is time to start looking at people and going, okay, you follow a different set of religious or spiritual practices. That's okay. As long as you're treating me decently, we can work with it. Now, this problem, by the way, is not relegated to just this planet. Okay, and there's many of you that will tell me that, there are no other planets out there. Heck, I've talked to people that have told me that Earth itself is flat, which I find rather a fascinating concept, except for the fact I've seen it. Now, you don't have to believe me. Some people will ask, well, why should I believe what you're telling me? Well, in all fairness, don't. It doesn't make a lot of difference to me. Okay, what matters to me is whether or not I believe what I'm telling you. And the one thing I can guarantee is I won't lie to you to make you feel better. The reason I do these videos, and I call it live, because I never go back and edit any of them. What you see is what you get. If you ever run into me on the street, I'm the exact same way as I am here, or at least as close to it as I can get. Okay, I'm not really good at this whole concept of telling people things to make them happy. Now, I should have done that before, so I'm going to put this video on pause for a second, just long enough to go and get another coffee. Be right back. Okay, now I'm back. Like I said, I just needed to get my other coffee. Well, didn't need, desired. And since I chose not to wait, I tried something else. I am going to go back this time and check the time frame of this. This is about the 5-minute mark. So I'm going to have to go back after I get done the video, make sure that the pause that I put in it worked, because I really don't get technology too well. But we digress. Where it comes to family, where it comes to your spiritual path, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, is the way you look, is that the only way that people that are decent can look? If you see yourself as a decent person, okay, never mind what anybody else says, because what the rest of them think, myself included, doesn't mean half as much as what you think of yourself. Now, if you feel that you're a decent person, are you content with the way you're treating the people around you? Do are you looking at your pocketbook and going, gee, I've got so much more money than you, therefore I'm better? Okay. Rest assured, when it comes to illness, where it comes to earthquakes, where it comes to tornadoes, where it comes to major accidents, they don't care. None of them. Okay. Diseases don't care what your pocketbook looks like. They don't care who you worship. They don't care who you vote for. And they certainly don't care who you crawl into bed with. The reality of it is, all of you are under the same umbrella. Frankly, I'm under the same one as well. I've got a different outlook on life, and I make no apologies for it. Okay. I've been told by a lot of people that I need to learn how to talk to people to be a little bit better accepted. Well, if you can, my personal opinion is real simple. If you can't accept me the way I am, I'm certainly not going to make you happy by trying to be something I'm not. So, it's easier for me to just be honest with you and go, this is the way I feel. And the thing is, everybody has been, like, and I use the term everybody, understand there is always, always, always an exception. And I don't use the term always very often. Okay, the most violent of races I've run into, the most violent of peoples in the past that I've run into. Okay, I've run into gangs that are known for being absolutely bloodthirsty. They're known for being absolutely brutal. And yet, in those same gangs, I've found individuals that are not that way inclined. They follow that path because of fear. Now, getting back to the religious side of things, it's the same thing. If you're going to a church is a good idea. Going to a temple, going to a synagogue, whatever it is you're going to, is a great idea for the brotherhood. However, if you're going because whoever is leading that congregation, that group of people, is telling you, fear what happens if you don't come here, you may want to consider what you're doing. Okay. Myself, just to put it on the table, I do fully believe in I believe in what I call God, what you likely call God, or something else. I believe in an absolute higher power. The difference between me and most people I've run into, I don't fear it. Okay. I do not worship it. Because the reality is, a true God, okay, especially if we take a look at the issue of a God that built everything here, okay, if you take a look at it from that standpoint, whether it's called God, and the reason I use God is because it's only 3 letters, it's really easy to pronounce. I don't have to go through all the different words. Okay, God, Allah, Gaia, there's umpteen dozen. Okay. Now, for me, I just simply take the word God as higher power, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Do I believe wholeheartedly in it? Absolutely. The thing is, if you're going to believe that he made, or that he, she, it, whatever, if you're going to believe that this higher power made everything you know, then understand, he was here way before you were even a thought process. Okay. Does he really require somebody to worship him, to give him power? Does he require somebody to give him all of the material stuff that he's already created? Basically speaking, if you look at it from that standpoint, if he created everything, then you're giving all of your money there. You're giving all your money back, all your belongings back to a representative of him. Okay, you gotta wonder why, because he can make more. And if he didn't want you to have it, rest assured you wouldn't have it. Okay, now, yes, I'm going to get in trouble for this. I know that I'll get all kinds of interesting emails go, oh, you can't talk like that. It's blasphemy. Probably in most people's eyes it is, because I refuse to fear the higher power that created me, the one that I call Father. Okay, I refuse to fear it. Now, in all fairness, if we just talk about the corporeal family, as in your physical mother and father, regardless of how they treat you, is it wise to fear them? Like, if you've got kids, do you want your kids to fear you? Do you want your kids to fear you, or do you desire them to respect you and to heed your warnings? Okay, you've been through a fair chunk yourself already. Would it not be nice if your kids or the people that you're guiding, for instance, if you're a block parent, if you're a foster parent, if you're an adoptive parent, would it not be better if your kids respected you enough and believed in your words enough to follow them, at least to see where they lead? Instead, and I don't mean follow without question. Kids that don't question are people that don't question are essentially automatons. Okay, I can get a computer to do exactly what I ask it to do, providing I don't have to change the programming. If the program says if I hit this button it turns on, if the computer does that, then great, I can tell it when to turn on. I cannot program a computer. Okay, I can barely get the thing to operate properly. But where it comes to people, if you're following a path that talks about fear, okay, that talks about, fear whoever, fear me because I am. No, don't fear. Fear is the root of problems. People talk about money being the root of all evil. Well, I'll tell you, money is a barter system. It's just easier to move a $100 bill around than it is to move 100 head of cattle. Okay, now start looking at the people around you now, understanding everybody is different, but you're all denizens of the same planet. If you desire this planet to survive, if you desire your neighborhood to survive, it's time to start getting along and turn away from the idea of fearing everything you don't understand. Because I'll tell you, if you're anything like I am, anything at all, there's a staggering amount you don't understand. Personally, I find it difficult how, I do not understand overly well how people can beat the daylights out of each other and then turn around and go, I love you. I'm sorry, it's your fault I hit you. Now, there's a problem here. It's the same thing as people going, I came back to give you to lead you to a better world. So come up to my compound in the middle of nowhere where it's all fenced off. I've got a lot of guns. I will lead you to a better place. Give me all your material goods. If that's what you're doing, or if you know people that are doing that, you might want to ask them to assess the logic behind that. Because if it's a better world, guns themselves are not the problem. Okay, I mean, as I told one person years ago, I used to work for a charity where we were dealing with that, and the guy thought I wanted his guns, and like I told him, I said, look, take all of your guns, take every one of them, load them, cock them, put a bullet in the chamber, set them gently on the ground. Okay, now do this with nobody else around, because you don't want to hurt anybody accidentally either. Set them gently on the ground and walk away. And stand there and watch them for as long as you desire and see if any one of those guns gets up and actually pulls the trigger and shoots somebody. Guns are not the problem. Same as if you own a car. Okay, take the car, fire it, make sure it's got gas, make sure the emergency brake is on. Okay, someplace safe where nobody else is around you. Turn the car on and walk away from it and watch it for as many hours as you desire. Okay, see if that car drops itself into gear and drives off without you. Okay, see if the car is causing the problem. Or is it the people behind the wheel or behind the trigger that are causing the problem? when we propagate and we talk about fear, fear this, fear that, fear your neighbor, lock your doors, hide your belongings, everybody's out to get you. If you're propagating this, you're going to live in a state of fear. Now, I don't know about you, but for me personally, living in a state of fear is a major problem. Okay, I lived in enough of it myself. For the longest time, I feared the telephone. Never guns, never any of that. But I feared the telephone because I owed a lot of people money, a lot of legitimate people money that I legitimately owed them. We are not talking loan sharks, we are talking actual companies. But the problem was they'd phone me asking me for the money I legitimately owed them, and I didn't have it. And it made me feel so off kilter that I wouldn't answer the phone to anybody. I likely missed an awful lot of calls that would have been great. But I refused to answer phones I didn't see and that I didn't know. Now, I managed to, following the guidelines that I display to people, that I portray to people through my series called The Journey, I walk people through how I did it. Okay. Cross feeling. Okay. I'm just making a note for myself, and you can watch the journey to find out what's all about the note. But where it comes to your spiritual path, are you walking a path that you can walk down the street and proudly say, I am this way, this is how I treat people? Can you stand up and say, I am this way inclined? If you can proudly stand up and announce what you've done, right, then carry on. Okay, I've heard way too many people. I was told by one person in particular, I would have invited you to my church if you had been dressed better. Well, rest assured, whoever you call God, whoever you call your guiding power, your higher source, doesn't matter. You can bet your bottom dollar they don't care what you're wearing. Okay, if they cared what you were wearing, you wouldn't have been born naked. And I'm pretty certain there's not a one of you that has been born wearing clothes. Some of you are born with hair, some of you are born with teeth and fingernails, but there's not a soul that I know of that has ever been born wearing actual clothing, even a piece of jewelry or a piercing. They come into this world in one way. That's how you're accepted, as is. I do my level best to accept people as is. However, I do have my shortfalls. Okay, I am not perfect. I am not the best of the best by any stretch. I'm barely good at what I am. Okay, now, am I the most eloquent speaker? Definitively not. Okay, I keep getting told I need to learn how to be a little bit more congenial, a little bit more, polite in the way I do things. The reality is I'm just straightforward. What you see is what you get. If you ever get around to actually meeting me in person, and I will go and talk I will go and talk in front of groups of people about what I'm looking at, all I require is an invitation. And as far as getting a hold of me goes, that's easy. Correction, I require invitation and the funding and place to get to. Okay. Now, at the bottom of these videos, you'll find a list of the different ways of getting in touch with me. Okay. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. You'll see a lot of information coming out. What we are talking about right now is how do you go about changing from where you are. And we're not talking about leave your religion. Whatever religion, whatever spiritual path you go to for your brotherhood, keep going. Okay. Everybody does not see the world, does not understand the world in the same way. Rest assured, the people living in a desert do not see the world the same way as people that are living in a Amazon rainforest. Okay, if you've got an overabundance of water, if you're living on an island, you're not going to understand what it feels like to live at the top of a mountain on a continent. Okay, especially if you happen to be living at the bottom of a volcano. Now, the reality is, regardless of where you're living, regardless of what you do for a living, you still have the same situation. You're living on the same planet. Now, in turn, because I was raised in a Christian community, in a Christian home, Okay, a lot of my terminology I learned through that. So bear with me on that one. Okay. The reality is I haven't taken the time to go and explore all the different religions. I have looked at the surface of a lot of them. And the thing I did do was I went through through a whole pile of different religions: Christianity, Judaism, Sikh, Muslim, Wiccan, Cree, probably a couple of others, but that gives you an idea. All of them have the same outlook. Okay, when you look at the commandments on them, when you look at their commandments, their guidelines, they all basically say the same thing. Be nice to each other, treat each other in the way you desire to be treated. Now, when you get up in the morning, can you look in the mirror and go, I'm treating people the way I desire to be treated? Okay, when I meet strangers, I will smile at them, I will say hello. Okay, well, it doesn't matter what they're wearing. I mean, I had this absolutely disgusting experience one day. I was walking by a park, and there were two families. One family of Caucasian, one family of Caucasians, one of darker skinned people. Now, I have no idea by looking at them whether they were from out of town, whether they were local. I have no idea. It was only their skin color, and they were, across the park. Both were just being family, playing frisbee, playing catch with a baseball, this sort of thing. They were both behaving exactly the same way, as close to exact as you get. And a gentleman walking by pointed at one of the groups, and no, I'm not going to tell you which one. A gentleman walking by pointed one of the groups and went, I can't believe that our government leaves that and lets those terrorists out in public. And I looked at the guy and I went, I gotta ask you, why, pray tell, would you call them terrorists? Well, they're racist. And you can tell that from over here? I said, you tell me one difference between those two groups of people that you can identify. We're, 50 yards away from them. And you're telling me by looking at them, you know what these people are doing. To me, this was just absolutely disgusting behavior. Okay. I've watched people do staggeringly horrendous things to each other in the name of love, in the name of peace. And I will tell you, I have never in my entire life heard of one case where a big weapon, where superior firepower brought peace. I have seen it bring quiet. Because I'll tell you, if people are shooting at people around you, you're going to go to cover. It's going to be quiet. Okay. And of course, if somebody gets shot and they end up dead, well, the shooting stops and we now have quiet. Peace is when you can walk into a room and say hi to somebody and they can say hi to you, and it ends at that. If that's where it ends, so be it. It does not make one iota of difference what you do in your spare time. It's how you deal with people, how you treat others that will matter, that will make this world a better place. Now, I don't know about you, but the amount of terror that I see broadcast, mainstream media is, they talk about this is what the news is, this is what people want to see. Well, how about if we look at this from a slightly different idea? How about never mind looking at what people want to see? When you're raising kids, you don't give them everything they want, I hope. Okay, but you give them what they require. You give them the love, you give them the insight into a better way of doing things. Okay, if you're propagating fear, what you're doing is causing that to fester in your own community. Now, if that's the kind of community that you like, I'm not one to judge as far as that goes. It's certainly not the community that I look for. And it's certainly not what I call Eden. It's not what I call peace. It's not even what I call paradise. Okay. The reality is, it is time for everybody, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your income, your political alignment, your orientation, your color. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter what your skeletal configuration is. Okay. The reality is, working together, we can actually make this world a better place. Okay, better as in not so much stress. How many of you out there wake up in the morning going, I can't deal with the stress, I can't deal with the people? Well, you can't deal with the people because you're being taught. It's being drilled into you by virtually every form that immediate gratification is necessary. Okay, that you want everything right now, but fear everything around you. Even fear the people that are supposed to be bringing you that peace. Okay, I'm telling you, fear is not a good thing. It is something that is necessary. If you don't have fear, you won't have love. You've got to have both in balance. Because if you don't have the fear, you won't know what love is. You won't know what acceptance is, if there isn't something to counterbalance it to. So if you're going to have freedom of choice, then yes, you have to have both options. Okay. Now there is a saying, and I presume it takes place that it happens in other languages as well. In English, there's a saying that goes, God helps those that help themselves. That doesn't mean thieves. It means if you make the effort to get along with people, okay, then people will make the effort to get along with you. That is the gift of free will, is the gift of being able to choose what you desire to do, to live life in a productive fashion. But it's up to you to make that work. Now, I'm telling you, if you're looking for a world of war, then carry on building your guns, making comments to people, degrading people, telling them how poorly educated they are, how worthless they are, how useless they are. Tell people that long enough and they will believe you. Time to start telling yourself 4 words. I am worth it. That's the message to get to you. Okay. I've got that message over on the wall over here. Okay. I've literally got it burned into a chunk of wood. Okay. And I didn't use any technology. I used it, well, I did, but I used a magnifying lens and sunlight to burn it. And likely by next week I'll have it back out here, but right now I'm not going over there to get it. In the meantime, until next week, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.